Hey everybody, welcome to this weekly update. What we're going to be doing is catching up with what I've been up to lately because I skipped a week last week in my weekly update videos, and also catching up on the Azure news, the Office 365, the GitHub and general tech news, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to this weekly update. For those that are regular viewers, you'll know that I missed a week last week with my weekly update cadence. I finally took a holiday with my husband, the first one since 2019. We went to a place north in Scotland and just explored that local area, went for lots of walks, enjoyed the beach, had some really great weather in Scotland as well, so it was really nice to be away and get a change of scenery, albeit it was very weird obviously because of the whole COVID thing and just social distancing and things like that, and being mindful of that when I was planning activities and going places and things like that. But yeah, it was very nice and very relaxing, and being able to disconnect from social media, from work, and just have that connected time with my husband and to be in the place that I was and experience where I was really nice. So yeah, but back in work mode now, back to catching up with the news. So as I said, we've got a lot of Azure news to catch up with, some Office 365 news, some GitHub news and some general tech news. Now the first bit of news that I want to kind of highlight is that there is a change coming for one of the Azure exams, so the AZ303 exam, which is the Azure Architect Technologies exam, I believe. And in the 24th of September, that exam objectives is going to change, so the content that you'll be tested on is slightly going to be changed. Now you can have a look at this for yourself and see the changes that are coming if this is an exam that you're focusing on. But one of the changes I wanted to highlight was that bicep now is going to be questioned in the exam. Now bicep is obviously still in preview at this time of writing, I believe, so it might not be something that you've delved into because of that preview status, but it looks like it's going to start to be included in an exam, at least in 303. Potentially it'll be in other exams, so it's one to be mindful of. I don't imagine masses of questions just yet around it, but it's to be one to be mindful of and to be keeping an eye on. If these exams are on your objective radar, then to be checking what's happening with them and if there's any content changes coming up for them as well. Now Azure availability zones give you high availability offering against data center failures for your applications and your data, and a lot of features and functionality in Azure now supports availability zones. What's been announced is that soon Azure Automation will also get the support of Azure availability zones. This will again provide more resilience and more high availability to your Azure automation. It looks like there's going to be no cost potentially to this feature coming to Azure automation, and nothing that you'll necessarily need to do if I'm reading the announcement correct. But we'll see. It's a coming soon feature. It's not in public preview, it's not in private preview at the moment as far as I'm aware. It's a coming soon feature, so definitely something to keep an eye on and plan for in the future as well. Now on the front of Azure availability zones, we have went generally available with availability zones for Azure App Services. So this feature is now available if you're using the Premium V2 and Premium V3 app service plans. I don't believe it works for any other plans, unfortunately. I also think there are some caveats about changing your web app services. So although this sounds quite good on the face of it, definitely dig into the detail if you're using app services and you want to look at availability zones for these app services, because there may be more involved in actually implementing them. But that now is GA, so if you spin up a brand new Azure app service and use one of the Premium V2 or Premium V3 plans, then that feature will be available to you from the very start. Now something that is very dear to my heart, being an IT pro and being someone who loves infrastructure, is that Windows Server 2022 has now went generally available, and this is quite exciting. So there are a lot of features and functionality in this new operating system in Server 2022. One of them being file server enhancements such as SMB compression. Now the SMB compression will improve application file transfer by compressing data while it's transferring over your network. That's obviously oversimplifying it slightly, but there's lots coming in terms of this feature, and I know Ned Pyle has been doing a lot of work, a lot of blog posts and a lot of videos covering off what this actually means and how to implement it and some of the caveats that you have to think about when you're implementing it, but definitely an exciting feature that we are hoping to be able to use in the wild for Server 2022. Now, something that is an Office 365 update and also a GitHub update is that you can now actually interact with your GitHub actions through either Microsoft Teams or Slack. So you'll be able to see if an approval comes through. So you'll get a notification inside Teams that an approval is waiting for approval in GitHub Actions, or in Slack you'll be able to see if a deployment has happened. You'll be able to see that whole real-time deployment of your GitHub action from within Teams and Slack. So that means that if you are constantly inside those applications on a day-to-day basis, I always have my Teams open constantly and interacting with my team and colleagues. It means that if you're not looking at GitHub Actions, you're still getting the notifications and you're still able to actually interact with it and keep that process of what's ever happening within your GitHub Actions to the front of your mind and to potentially your to-do list as well. So great feature there from the Office 365 and GitHub team as well. Now, something that I am a big fan of is Microsoft Bookings, which is a booking tool that you can integrate if you're using Microsoft 365 into your Outlook calendar. You can use it, I use it actually to schedule meetings with people outside of my organisation and they can't see my free busy time in my calendar. It's great for doing that. I know a lot of businesses, small businesses, can use it to help to book appointments, keep their staff busy, keep their customers happy, that kind of thing. And a feature that's coming soon, I believe in this month, in September, is actually SMS notifications, so text message notifications when someone makes an appointment. So if your customer makes an appointment through Microsoft Bookings and they provide their phone number, then Microsoft Bookings will actually send them a text message notification to say that that appointment has been confirmed and sending reminders, etc. as well. Right now, the functionality is only about email notifications around that kind of thing, confirmations and reminders. So it's nice to see this text message feature come as well, because I know sometimes emails can get lost in my inbox, whereas text messages kind of come to the forefront because I see them on maybe my phone screen or even on my smartwatch as well. So great functionality there coming from the bookings team as well. Now, when I was working in production environments, one of the jobs that I had in a lot of those environments was actually looking after the tape backups. So the backup systems and having tapes and transferring those tapes and changing those tapes and basically being responsible for the backups and the tape infrastructure. It's nice to see that HPE are actually launching new LTO tapes this month, I think. They're going to be able to hold up to 18 terabytes of data raw or 45 terabytes of data compressed. I think this is the first LTO tape that's new in about 4 years. So interesting to see that, and long live the tapes. I know they can be a bit of hassle, but a lot of organisations still use them as well. So yeah, nice feature there, and a lot of data can be stored on these tapes. So hopefully less hassle and less tapes needed when you have to find that tricky restore for one of your end users. Something that has popped up on, and I think we've talked about this before, there's lots of shortages in terms of computer chips, glass, various different components that you see inside technology these days. And let's face it, nearly every instrument or appliance within our house or we interact with has some kind of technology in it nowadays, even our washing machines. What we're seeing from the car industry is a lot of noise around the fact that they're having to either halt or stop production of certain cars. I think Toyota, Ford and Volvo have already made changes to their production lines. We're seeing Daimler actually say that these tech shortages for their cars are actually probably going to impact them until about 2023. They don't expect the supply chain issues for some of the tech that they need for their cars to actually be resolved for 2023. Now, I don't think that's just a Daimler issue, to be honest. I think they're just trying to highlight it and bring it to attention of the industries. I think we're probably going to see tech shortages for probably at least 2022 and if not 2023 as well. It is starting to impact a few people. I have heard a few people say that they're trying to buy cars. They can't because there's a shortage of the brand new models, and when they look at the used car market is actually increased, certainly here in the UK, and prices for used cars are actually much dearer than potentially buying a new car because of the shortage of newer cars. So very interesting times, and definitely something that we have to be aware of if we're trying to buy something new that has technology in it, if we're maybe looking at a brand new car and understand why the prices have been changed and whether it's worth actually changing your car. Things like that, just to be mindful of. If you've been affected by any of these kind of tech delays, if you've ordered a car and it's still not here because of tech delays, let me know. I'd love to hear your personal opinions and what you're thinking and how these car manufacturers are handling this, and whether it's just affecting you, these tech shortages overall. It would be good to hear any personal stories around all of that. Now, our random story that caught my attention on the news is around business cards, so paper business cards. Now, it was reported that I think about 27 million globally were printed a day before the pandemic. So 27 million paper business cards were printed pre-pandemic. Now that's almost halted or stopped because obviously we're not meeting people in person and we're not handing out business cards. But what is emerging is companies thinking of new ways to have that business card, whether it be digital or I've seen people actually start to put QR codes in the backgrounds of their Teams meetings. So having customized Teams meetings with a QR code that if you scan will give people contact details for you. I'm also seeing lots of NFC, so near field communication technology, so that you can transfer information from one phone to another if you are meeting in person rather than exchanging business cards. So yeah, it's definitely something that's affected random bits of industry and random companies, I imagine, this pandemic that you wouldn't necessarily think of at the forefront. But again, I'd like to hear your thoughts on paper business cards. Do you think they'll come back? Do you think they're useful? Had they died long before the pandemic and we just stretched this out? I am a big fan of the paper business cards, to be quite honest. I like designing them, I like handing them out, they're quite personal. I tend to remember them a lot better than if you randomly give me your Twitter handle and it gets lost in my, my feed and I forget who you are or forget what it was or don't quite find you, that kind of thing. Paper business cards are really handy and I always find them. So yeah. Lots of information this week. Thank you for staying tuned if you've made it all the way to this point. Definitely leave me a comment in the chat. I'm going to answer every comment personally. So leave me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, how you're doing, what's happening, if any of the tech news has affected you, if you've got any thoughts. And yeah, have a good one, everybody, and I'll catch you in my next video.